New Jersey is once again a key player on the national political stage as we're also unpacking the election results this morning. We're joined now by former New Jersey Legislator John Wisniewski. Good morning. It's good to see you.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, very well. Thanks for joining us this morning. I want to start just talking about turnout. We saw some really massive lines in parts of the state, southern part of the state in particular. What do you make of yesterday's results and what we were seeing in early election and day of voting?
So the turnout was large, both because of early voting and on election day. What was surprising was the strength that Donald Trump showed in New Jersey. Usually on a presidential level, especially with the last two cycles, Democrats have done much better. I mean, clearly, Kamala Harris carried New Jersey, but I thought it was interesting to see that the margin was a lot closer than expected.
Yeah, what do you think? Are the pollsters getting it wrong? Are people not being honest with pollsters? What do you make of it? A lack of a New Jersey press corps able to actually accurately cover these elections? What do you make? Because
Well, I think, well, Laura, it's all of the above, right? The press corps is dwindling day by day, and there's not as many people who can hold candidates accountable through neutral press venues. But on top of that, the polling has become increasingly unreliable because the traditional way of randomizing and accounting for who you're calling has now changed, with many people no longer having home landline phones. You have cell phones. If you called someone's home, you knew that it was likely to be the person who lived there answering the phone. If you call someone's cell phone, there's no guarantee that you're going to actually be speaking to the person to whom that cell phone is registered. And so I think there is a limited ability to accurately predict races. Certainly you can get trends, which we saw. Kamala Harris was closing the gap as we got closer to election day. And maybe if she had had another month or two, if Joe Biden had dropped out of the race earlier, there would have been a different outcome. But that did not happen.
well, I mean, I'm curious as to your thoughts on that when it comes to Kamala Harris. Had she dropped out earlier, was this an issue of she had 3 months, 12 weeks to run in this campaign, whereas, in a congressional race, like they're already starting to run for 2020. 26, sorry. My math is not mathing this morning. Had she had more time, how would that have impacted it? Or is it still going back to perhaps race and gender? And this country isn't ready for a woman of color to be president.
Well, certainly when you see the kind of things that Donald Trump said throughout the campaign, that in my lifetime would ordinarily be automatically disqualifying for anybody, whether they're running for city council or president of the United States. And none of those things disqualified him. You know that we're in a different epoch of American electoral politics in which voters do not seem to care that the candidate is intemperate, that the candidate seems confused, that the candidate is saying racist, misogynistic, xenophobic things. They just want somebody to tell them, I'm going to lower your gas prices and I'm going to lower your grocery prices. And that seems to be what wins.
Yeah. Sometimes when you get to talking to people on either side of the aisle, they'll say, I don't really love this candidate, whether it's Donald Trump, whether it's Kamala Harris, but I support the party. So what can you say to that? A lot of people didn't like how Kamala Harris, Joe Biden dropped out with only, less than 3 months to go. Then there are plenty of Republicans, who lean, conservative in their values. Are like, I don't necessarily like him. I don't agree with some of the things, but this is the direction I want to see the country going in.
Yeah, I think the support for Donald Trump was less about partisan politics and more about the things he said that he would do, the things that he said he believed in. I think it exposes a unpleasant side of the American character that we are still working to correct 150 years after the Civil War. There were a lot of voters who had trouble voting for a woman of color, voting for a woman. And that, in part, explains the outcome of this election. Donald Trump was campaigning for this job for 4 straight years on a mountain of lies. Kamala Harris was campaigning, but not for the title seat, except for the last 3 or 4 months. And so there was a disparity in the campaign effort. Uh, Voters were getting to know her as the campaign went on, but you can't, it's really hard to recreate a year worth of campaigning in 3 months.
All right, well, we're going to have to end it there. Thank you so much for taking the time, John Wisniewski, to talk to us about all of these election results. And already we're going to be, I was talking earlier, driving in, I already saw campaign signs for New Jersey's race for governor. So 2025, it's on. It's on.
It's always on.
It is always on.
Thank you, Laura.
As are we here at On New Jersey. Thank you so much. All right, and we want you to stay with us. There's so much more news, talk, and weather ahead on the New Jersey Morning Show. I'm Laura Jones.